Hi guys, this is my new update for the Great Grad Job Hunt on my way to becoming a commercial lawyer and in particular a solicitor. And today I'm going to be talking to you about the two dreaded words by many students and applicants, commercial awareness. So first of all, what is commercial awareness and why is it important? Commercial awareness is a general interest in business and an understanding of the wider environment in which an organisation operates. So that can be the political, economic factors that surround the business environment, for example, the political events of Brexit and how that kind of affects the way businesses will be running in the future, to give you an example. And it is really important because it shows an employer that you're not also just fulfilling your role, but you're also interested in contributing to the success of a business, because a big part of many jobs nowadays is not just to fulfill a certain role, but also to be a kind of advocate of that business and to contribute to its success, so to take a wider interest in it. So how can I get commercial interest? If you're, for example, not an economics student and you have no idea of these type of areas, I recommend starting out with something that you're already interested in, because otherwise it can be quite overwhelming trying to immerse yourself in something as technical as the economic times. So for example, for me that was EU competition law, which I found really interesting and which was a big part of my degree. So I tried building on that, tried looking at exchange rates, because I often have to exchange euros into pounds, so I'm very much affected by that, and then tried to kind of build on my interest and the knowledge that I have to ease my way into certain kind of business terms. So another thing I'd recommend, especially if you're currently preparing for exams and your time is kind of shortcut, try to download a few podcasts and just listen to them whenever you can. Let's say you're going for a walk, or you are on your way to university, or whatever you're doing, try to listen to them on the tube, on your commute, in between, because it's kind of an easy way to catch up on what's going on. And a lot of newspapers like the Financial Times, Economic Times or the BBC will give you a daily roundup of what's going on. Also start reading newspapers. They are sometimes, the Financial Times, not as kind of overwhelming as you might imagine, and you don't have to read them front to back, but even if you just get a general gist of what's going on. Another thing I'd really recommend, and this is really good, is looking for websites that deal specifically with commercial awareness. There is a website for commercial awareness for students to which you can subscribe, and that gives you kind of a weekly update of the 10 most important stories. So even if you just skim the topics a little bit, even if you just look at the list, that also gives you an idea of what's going on at the moment without having to immerse yourself in every single story. Then another thing is, how can I demonstrate commercial awareness? In general, you can demonstrate it through much more work experience than you actually think. So it's basically understanding how an organization works, what it needs to run successfully, and what your role is. For example, that also means keeping up to date what the challenges and opportunities of the organizations are. That is maybe a question that a lot of people know from their applications, but it is also kind of highlighted by understanding your role in a working environment in a bigger picture. For example, I work in the career centre as an assistant, so I am responsible for organising events, but then also we look at statistics, how successful were they, what kind of students turned up, what kind of advertisement did we do, how did people hear about it, what attracted them, what can we do better next time. So it's also kind of showing how you contributed to a smooth functioning and to success, and not just fulfilling one task, but kind of seeing that in a broader scheme of how that task comes together with the rest of the working environment. So that's it for me today for commercial awareness. Try out a few podcasts, it's really helpful, and don't get overwhelmed by economic jargon that you might not be familiar with, because you're not expected to be a complete finance professional, but you can demonstrate a wider understanding of what's going on by just being attentive to news on a daily basis. Well, good luck and talk to you soon.